Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go. Hard work, work. Everybody doing it right.
Hey everybody, Mark, Centerline Systems. On an incredibly snow-nado kind of day. We had like 8 inches of snow last night, but right now it's windy as hell. So if in the middle of this video you hear a scream and we start going to gun, it's because I'm seeing like a wampa. That's another little trick question right there if anyone knows what a wampa is. But if one goes flying through the air in this snow-nado right now, yeah, well, then we got bigger problems because that's a fictional creature. But all right, back to reality. So in this video today, what a bizarre start to a video. We're going to sit and talk about our padded strap wrap. You see I got some stuff out in front of me. This is a pretty down and dirty video because it's, you know, a pretty simple product, but I do want to take the opportunity to kind of do some TTPs with this. And really on the TTPs, I'm just going to give you some examples because I think once you see overall how this works conceptually and how you can use it in a couple different configurations, you'll get the point and you'll be able to figure out your own way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a once over, introduce you to the padded strap wrap, give you a little bit, there's kind of a funny story about the origin behind it. I'm going to show it in conjunction with the shoulder strap. I'm going to open it up, show you some of the things that you can put inside. You know, we'll show some of the stuff on the outside. And then we're going to finish over here on one that already has a bunch of cordage in there. And I'm going to, kind of like the G2 and the S-Row videos that we've been talking about, you can see how you could put a whole bunch of cordage inside of the padded strap wrap and then deploy that whenever you wanted to. So that is in essence what we're going to talk about here in this video. So without further ado, I'm going to put my eyeballs on and we're going to start talking about the padded strap wrap. So here in front of me, and some of you can just stay out there for a little bit on the no zoom necessary. So padded strap wrap. Now when we first came out with this, it did not have these loops going through here. So when we switched over and started making the shoulder strap that way and we included this 1-inch webbing going down the length of it, that's when we did this. And I guess that was about, I don't know, a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, something like that. But so just like our shoulder strap, on the outside of the padded strap wrap, you have this 1-inch webbings. It's 17337 is the webbing we use here. Unless it's camouflage, because we can do this in camouflage patterns as well. And that's depends what it is, but a single side 55301. But that runs the length of the padded strap wrap. And then as you can see, and this maybe you want to come in midland come in. I don't know if you can see the overall length, but this is one of our shoulder straps. And as you can see, the padded strap wrap, and the shoulder strap's a little bunched up if I pulled it tight. The padded strap wrap is perfect, and it goes perfectly in between the reducers. So the shoulder strap itself is 1.5 inch webbing up here, goes to 1.5 inch to 1 inch reducer, and this padded strap wrap nests perfectly between those reducers, so it doesn't slide around. And matter of fact, and then come back up to me now, please. So there's a good little stupid story, right? And kind of how it started. When we were making the Mother Canteen carrier, you know, I did have people asking, you know, hey, could you make a pad for the shoulder strap? And, you know, and honestly, you know, at that time, look, you can put a lot of gear in a Mother Canteen carrier. You know, when you start talking a full canteen and all the other gear, and then, you know, putting gear on the bottom of it, you know, it can be a little bit of weight. You know, and I guess from my perspective, I was just like, you know, and I've always been kind of used, like if I wanted a pad on this, you know, excuse me, I would just take an old t-shirt or a towel and I'd wrap it around it and I would just tape it. Well, that's not very professional, you know, for a company. So when I had people ask me to make a pad, you know, I said, well, if I'm going to make a pad, because I actually really hate the pads that you see on most shoulder straps. And I'm sure you're the same way. Like you buy it, whether it's a computer bag or I don't care what it is, something that has a shoulder strap, it's that stupid little pad and it slides all over the place. You never use it. It never sits on your shoulder. So I said, if I do a shoulder pad or a pad for the shoulder strap, it's going to be an actual pad, but it has to be more than that. It has to have more functionality. And that's what we came up here. So again, on the old version, there was a loop on either end, and that was for putting carabiners, you know, so you could put your gloves in a D-ring, your car keys. You could still mount a knife or another pouch here, but as, like I said, you know, just a couple seconds ago, when we changed the shoulder strap over to the loops, we just did it, you know, all the way on the padded strap wrap as well. So what you end up getting is if this was bending over your shoulder, you've got multiple connection points for doing all kinds of different attachment, whether it's a pouch, whether it's a knife, And I probably won't throw a knife on here. I mean, right behind me is my Y harness, and I have a Lagome knife set up on mine, and I'll probably pull it off and show you in a couple seconds. But in reality, what I was kind of thinking of is pouches and items on the outside, and then I wanted the inside to be a storage space for really thin items. Think cordage, think VS17 panel, think tape, think you know, like the fire plugs, fire starting material, items of that type of nature. And so I guess we'll get to there in a second, because actually I have this one with a VS17 panel inside of it right now. So if you were thinking of emergency signal, you'll see it in a couple seconds. But all right, eyeballs back on. I'm going to show you just a couple things. Well, you know, I'll leave this right here. I'm going to move this off the side, but we'll come back to that. Once I open it up, I'll pull the VS17 out and I'll show you how the shoulder straps fits in there. But so on these loops, so now this is a pretty common piece out there of plastics. Now, I don't have this for any of my items, but it's just a little 1-inch connector. This is an ITW Nexus. There are a couple different companies that make it. And it comes with a shock cord attached to it. Now, you could add or subtract, you know, the length of shock cord, but you can take this guy, slide him on, and I'm not going to do the whole thing but then you would bring this piece back out here, get it trapped, and then it, you know, it won't come off. But then that's on there. So, you know, I just did that. Now I have to do it just so you guys aren't sitting there saying, he's a liar. That won't, there, see, now it's secured, right? So I could have done that, and maybe I would have had it the other way. So me personally, when I'm putting this on my shoulder, I have the opening going away from my neck, so I don't have a potentially, you know, raw edge rubbing against my neck. I like to have the fold towards my neck. So maybe I would have it this way. And then now you can see I could attach. So here, I'll just, as an example, I'm kind of jumping ahead. But this is a really good heavy duty emergency blanket, not those really thin, flimsy ones. This is a really heavy duty one. But I could have had one of these adapters here, one on the bottom, and then I could just run this through and secure it in place. And this is just an example. And now it would be on the outside of my shoulder strap. Now, and I might want to put it, you know, more towards the front or more towards the back, or, you know, this will bend. I could put it over the top and have it right in the middle and secure it. So then it bends with my padded strap wrap. And with that, it just now frees up extra space that I'm not using inside my Mother Canteen carrier, my G2 or whatever. And I could have a space blanket, you know, right here on the outside of my pad strap wrap. Now, if I don't have these buckles, like, well, so again, I don't use them for my gear, and I don't have them available, but you can find them in other places. But what I do provide is every one of my products comes with a piece of shock cord, with a shock cord keeper. That's what I use for the hanging tags. So you could have done that same thing I just said, you know, and just simply ran the shock cord, you know, over the loop, and then ran the item off to the side or over the top and then connected it. So that's just how you could use some shock cord on the outside to connect items. And this is a really, you know, fairly large item, but you could have connected it to the outside of the padded strap wrap. Another thing to maybe think of, this is one of our keepers. You know, we make belt keepers. So I could just ran a keeper through there, snapped it in place, and now I've got another area if I want to perhaps, let's say I was running 2 shoulder straps. I could now run a shoulder strap on one shoulder and then a shoulder strap on the other shoulder in these keepers. And if I wanted to have an improvised sternum strap, I could just take a piece of shock cord, connect between the two of them and draw it tight. If I was doing that, this could just be another place. It might just be easier for you to hook on a carabiner right here if you wanted to have a carabiner with gloves. So just another little item that can go on the outside of the padded strap wrap that allows you to connect other items to it. Another thing, you know, don't forget is, so on our shoulder straps at the end, you know, you're getting these split bar connectors, right? And we've shown these a bunch of times before. Shoulder strap, you get back on the table. But I could, depending on the gear I had, you know, and if you want a couple of these, just, you know, let me know. There's a notes comment, or you can send me an email with your order. But you can actually take that split bar, put it on here, and then if I had another item that was running off of either the male or the female portion of the side release buckle, and now I could connect it right there, and then that's how it could be secured to the outside of my padded strap wrap, right? So just another little thing to think of is using split bars. Those chasm buckles that we have on the outside of the Mother Canteen carrier fit perfectly in here. Now that's female only, but you could put a chasm buckle here. So let's say I had, oh, I'm just gonna make this up. Let's say I had a GPS unit, And I had the ability, and there was a piece of webbing coming off my GPS unit, or I was used one of our gear strap kits, connected that to the GPS, and then I just had it over either a fixed or a split bar male. I could put a chasm buckle right here so that it's not going anywhere, and then it's locked in place, and I don't run the risk of, you know, it sliding around or potentially annoying me. Or, you know, look, this is a split bar, and for an item like that, you might want to run solids so you don't, there's no chance that it comes off, because you may not want to lose your GPS if you don't know how to use the moon and the stars and the terrain and everything that nature provided us to actually navigate. We've talked about these guys. I just throw a handful of these in with every shoulder strap and every padded strap wrap. They're just two-way adapters, and you can see some over here on this guy. Spoon, if you want to spoon zoom us in. And maybe this will be a point where I reach over and grab my Y harness, but you can see they pretty easily adapt. And then if you're already zoomed in, I'll just go over to the Ranger Green one here. So these two ways, they've got two openings. So I just take one of the splits, come through, and they are pretty good to secure. But now that's secured to the padded strap wrap, and then on this other side of the opening, I can run 1-inch webbing through there, or I can run this over something of 1-inch webbing. So again, whether it's a knife sheath, a different type of pouch, and I can put these wherever I wanted, and that way I could secure another item to the outside of my padded strap wrap. And we just throw a handful of these in with every shoulder strap and every padded strap wrap. So just another example of what you could do on the outside. And you can think of a whole bunch more. Perfect. So kind of getting ahead of us, just not really ahead of us, kind of moving around. So here's my Y harness off of my Sherpa belt. And so on one of my straps, I've got padded strap wraps on both edges of the Y harness, but you can see I'm just running both. I'm running a couple of those split, not split bars, but two-way adapters. But this adapter right here, I use that adapter for my phone mount, because I put a little thing on the back side of my phone. And then now my phone can be up on my shoulder and it won't come out. Like this, what's kind of cool about this is, like, this phone has to turn 180 degrees for it to come out of that mount. Once it's in there, it's locked in there. And so as I'm walking, you know, this is right up on my shoulder, and I can just look over and be like, oh, it's Spoon calling. Be like, what up, Spoon? So just another example of something that you can put up on the shoulder. And then I was just saying earlier, so here's a Lagome knife. I carry a Lagome knife on mine. Now, those two-way adapters aren't really good if you've got really thick leather on the back of the sheath, right? It's really designed for 1-inch webbing. So instead of using the two-way adapters, I just did a bunch of shock cord, and I just secured it down with shock cord, the sheath, to the outside of my shoulder strap or my padded strap wrap, and you can see it doesn't move around. It's nice and solid and locked in there. So those are just some examples of how you can mount different items to the outside of the padded strap wrap and why we have those loops there, right? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, now I'm gonna open it up and talk about some of the stuff that can go in there. And we might cut, because there's a lot of Velcro that runs down the length of this. And I'm kind of smiling right now, because if you have one of these or when you get it, well, you know, heck, talking ain't doing. Let's just do it. All right, so you're going to see, you can see me kind of already struggling with it. And I'm basically pinching it with a thumb and then trying to peel it open. There's a whole bunch of Velcro in there. This is not going to inadvertently open up, right? And spill out the contents or expose the contents. So here, just as an example, what I did is I have some Sil nylon signals panel, right? I always call it VS17 panel, but it's really not. But this is made of Sil nylon. It's really thin. And we'll just do this so you get a sense. Now I folded it up. You know, I took a couple seconds and took my time. But that's a really big signal panel, right? And I got all that easily folded up and stored on the inside of my padded strap wrap, right? So, you know, well, that's over 20 inches on this axis, excuse me. So this is probably 20 by 24 or 24 by 26, give or take, right? And I was able to fold that up and throw that inside of the padded strap wrap without a problem. So, you know, just, I guess there's a good point. So if you're gonna throw, you know, maybe some thicker items on the inside, what you're gonna wanna do is try to make it as long as possible, right? Because for obvious reasons, if I folded this in half and then tried it, like, look at how much more material I would end up, you know, putting in one space. Now I could still do it, it would still work, right? But I would be trying to jam less material into the interior space if I would have folded this, the length of the padded strap wrap. I just would have less material jammed up or boogered up, if you want to call it, or bunched up in one area. So when you think about what you're going to put in here, and it's the same thing if you're putting, this is a bad example, but imagine all this cordage that's on the outside of this buzzsaw. But if I wanted to put all that cordage in here, so actually maybe it's a good example. So look at that right there. It's a lot of material in a short space. So if I try to wrap that up, now I can get that in there, but you can see how much that might just be a little bit of a struggle to do, right? But there, I put that in there, right? Now, I don't know if you'd want to maybe, if you did put a chem light in there, I think you're going to want it at one of the ends. You obviously don't want it in the middle where it's going to bend, right? But, there's some excess exposed Velcro. But I was able to get that in here. Now, a better way I would recommend to do that, and I'm not going to, undo this right now, but why not just have the chem light right here and then have all the cordage going down the length and then S rolling up. Instead of I would still have the same capability. I'd still have a chem light with cordage on it so I could break the chem light and then, use it as a buzzsaw for a signaling device. But instead of putting all of that material in one small space, this would be a lot easier to store inside the padded strap wrap if I just had just the chem light and then I S-rolled all my material down here, my cordage, and then secured it. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So that's an example. Again, that's a lot easier. That's just a single chem light. Look how much easier it was, and there's so much less material exposed. So just a great example right there. And we didn't plan it, honestly. That actually was just, was right in front of me. I kind of jumped around. I wasn't going to talk about that one yet. And then I was like, let's just move on to that. So great example of just spreading out the amount of material across the whole length, especially if you can do it, right? So the interior, I use that Sil Nylon signals panel. That's a great example of what can go in there. I just demonstrated you can put a chem light in there. Chem lights may be getting into the larger size. This really, when I did this, when I made this interior pocket, I really had cordage is my primary thought, right, of what you would want to put inside of here. But if you're going to put cordage in there, you can clearly put, filtration straws. Here's a whistle. Like this is one of the really thin Fox whistles, right? And these things are super loud. I could be annoying and blow it right now in the video, but I could rig this up with like 5/50 quarter or lanyard, and I could have this in here, so that could be part of my signals kit. So again, you see how I could spread this out. And even with that spread out, let's say I was going to do this as an emergency signals kit. Well, so, I could have this cordage in here, but now these guys, these are just in a little baggie that I have for something else, but we've shown these in other videos. These are the fire plugs, right? Great tinder starters, right? I could put them in there, in a different baggie and then roll the baggie up. I could leave them by themselves and just put them, along the length. I could take some tape. Now this is just is this Gorilla? What was this one? Is this Gorilla? I can't remember what brand it is, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just a marking tape, whether it's Gorilla or duct tape or whatever. Actually, I think this is duct tape. But so in a previous video, we talked about using tape. So the tape is wider than the interior space, so I could just take the tape, do some long folds again, right? I want longer folds, and then, because I can get more material that way in a longer fold. And then I could just take that, fold this in half, right? And then I could put that in here, leave that inside of there. And if I did this, obviously I'd be doing it, for my ease, not your viewing pleasure. And there's a couple different ways. Sometimes I start in the middle and go to the ends, which is, I'm going to make a little bit of a change here, because I can just do that. But you see, there, that was really down and dirty, right? So I could get a whole bunch of that stuff in here, right? And it really isn't interfering. It's not going to be causing a lump on my shoulder and being a real pain in the butt. I think, honestly, that's going to kind of do it. I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to show the shoulder strap because, really, you get the point. Anything that's thin, narrow, flexible, you can put inside of the interior space of the padded strap wrap. And if you're really looking at the, trying to be a minimalist, just think of that whistle, this tape, how many of these fire plugs, a filtration straw, this is actually, here, spoon zoom in on that bad boy. So I just found this in one of my prop kit things. This is from December of 2014. Like, that's how old this one is, right? So I just put this together years, 6 years ago, right? Actually, crap, dude, that's almost 6 years exactly. 6 years ago. And it's just chapstick, a light, a lighter, and some matches. Now, I didn't put this together with the padded strap wrap in mind, so I would probably redo this a little bit differently now, and I've got way too much excess material. But, a whistle, some homemade survival kit like this, some tape, that's a lot of space that's now freed up from the interior space or the pocket space of any other piece of gear you have, whether it's one of our products or something else. So that's just, really what we were trying to do here with the padded strap wrap is it's way more than just a pad. So yeah, if you want to have a pad because you are carrying, a mother, a scout, a burrito, whatever it is, and you've got a lot of weight in it, and it's just bugging you over the shoulder. All right, well then use the padded strap wrap, but why instead of having a pad that just slides around and just, I don't know if I can get away with this, but that just pisses you off and does nothing except piss you off. Why not have a pad that's gonna be locked into the sides of your shoulder strap that's gonna give you additional functionality? Okay, as you notice with our little technical glitch card that we just put in here, we had a little bit of an issue. So I just bought a brand new SD card for these videos, and I think we've done 8 videos now, and the SD card's already corrupted. And so we have to reshoot the end of the padded strap wrap and the end of the mother canteen carrier. We just did 2 videos. We have to shoot those all over again. So, but we did review it, kind of saw where we left off, and I guess just kind of jumping right into that. What I was just talking about is the padded strap wrap itself. Right? It's multifunctional, multi-purpose. It's way more than just a pad, right? You got interior storage space, exterior storage space. If you're just looking for just a BS slides everywhere kind of pad, just do it yourself and just take a t-shirt, wrap it around your shoulder strap, and then, and duct tape it down, right? That would work. This is a whole heck of a lot more than that. And where we left off, and I know I already talked about putting gear on the outside of the padded strap wrap, so I'm not going to recover that. But I think the plug I was about to make was, for our gear strap kits, so again, shamelessly promoting one of our other products. Because in the gear strap kits, you get 24 inches of shot cord. And the reason it's 24 is it's a unit of measure, right? It's 24 inches, fold in half, it's 12, fold in half, it's 6. Each piece comes with 2 shot cord keepers. So you could take that piece of shot cord, cut it in half and have 2 12-inch pieces. The shot cord that we use for our hanging tags on all of our products is 14 inches long. But you could do everything I just said just with the hanging tag itself, run it through the loops and use it to secure gear to the outside of your padded strap wrap, or get one of the gear strap kits and you get a whole bunch more shot cord, allowing you to secure more gear to the outside of your padded strap wrap. All right, and then as I said earlier, just kind of review, what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna open this up, just show you how much Velcro is in there. Like, when you have gear in here, it ain't coming out right. There's a little bit of an effort to open this bad boy up. But then I'm gonna put a shoulder strap in there just so you can see these are called reducers. And we've already talked about the shoulder straps in other videos, so I'm not gonna go into much detail there, but this is the 1.5 inch material with a 1-inch loop on it, but then it goes to an 1.5 inch reducer, reduces down to 1 inch, and then that's where you get the adjustment pieces on the shoulder strap. And so those reducers, that space between them, that's what fits nicely inside of the padded strap wrap. And so that way the pad doesn't move around and the shoulder strap doesn't move around. So I'm gonna put my eyeballs on, start opening this up. And you can see this guy ain't opening up on its own, right? There's the interior, which we've already kind of seen, right? But then here is so I'd be wearing my item, right? And then the pad would be closest to my body, so it'd really be like this inside of there. All right, and then I'm gonna get this out of the way so I can actually do this without having to think upside down and backwards. I do think backwards quite often, and from learning how to read license plates in your rear view mirror for surveillance detection, so I'm okay with the backwards too, but I don't know if I can do both of them at the same time anymore. So just kind of throwing this together kind of quickly. Again, the ultimate goal is just to show it off. So there's the pad on your shoulder strap, and then the shoulder strap would run down to whatever the item was, whether it's the mother canteen carrier or the Scout or whatever, or something of your own design or your own product or your own pouch. But so there it is. There's the reducer, and it's kind of locked in place on the pad. Here's the other side, locked in place on the pad. So the pad isn't moving around on your shoulder. It's not just going every which way it can, and same with the shoulder strap, right? So there's the shoulder strap inside of the padded strap wrap. And then last but not least, what we wanted to do is, now I already kind of set this up. I wanted to talk about how you can use the interior space or the exterior space to have all kinds of cordage out there. And by doing that, again, it should be pretty obvious, but then that saves up space inside of your other product, whatever that might be. So all of this cordage doesn't have to be in the side pocket of the Mother or the main pocket of the Scout or whatever product that you're using it with. And I'm not going to go into, there's so many different cool ways you can weave webbing. And there's a couple good pictures on Instagram of individuals who have taken all their cordage and they've weaved it through the loops on the outside of their padded strap wrap. It's pretty cool. I just kind of threw something together real quickly, so I just have some orange cordage and I just have it S-rolled on the inside. And I didn't even put much in there. So, you know, in the old padded strap wrap video, I think I put a little bit too much cordage in there. You know, like in the video, I'm like, okay, this is kind of stupid. 15 seconds of spooling out cordage. You get the picture. So there's only a small amount in there. But another thing I wanted to point out, and this goes into the G2 video that we're probably just not going to, if we do it, we're going to have to do it inside because, you know, now we're just getting into shitty weather. Well, I take that back. If we get a really good, you know, day, we'll go outside and do it. But like, you know, right now we couldn't do the tarp thing with the G2. It's just way too windy and snowy. But this same concept applies. So what I have here is, and here, Spoon, are you good enough, or can you zoom in just a tad? So I have the end of my cordage, and right now I just have it on a little, you know, Night Eyes, you know, S-beaner. And I could have connected it, you know, to a larger beaner, or I could have tied it off to the loop, connect to the loop. I just have it secured to one of the two-way adapters out here. So there it is right there. So I could actually come up to a tree or whatever the object's going to be, and I could take this, pull some of the cordage out, wrap it around, and then just connect it and hold it in place. And then I could literally just walk off towards the next object where I'm going to tie off, and this cordage would just keep deploying out behind me. And there's a couple different ways to do it. You could leave it so the free end is in there loose, or I could have tied it off. You know, I could actually had both ends tied off to the loop, so when it came out, it just didn't fall on the ground or get away from me. You know, but as this is walking, you could just be, you know, have your hand up here, and it could be just threading out through your hand so you don't lose it. But then it just keeps coming out, and then there would be your free end, and there it is. Now, you know, again, whether you're using another, like, you know, figure 9 or a tie off, and then you would be tying off. And then that could be a ridge line, you know, immediately deployed, just that quick, right? You know, just because it's S-rolled inside here. If, let's say you had this whole interior space, because you can get a lot of cordage in here. If the whole interior was full of cordage, you might just walk off, you know, like, oh, okay, there it is. I only needed like 20 feet or 30 feet. You could have stopped right there, you know, cut it, burned it, you know, and then tied off, and then still had all that other cordage still inside of your padded strap wrap. So just a little, you know, kind of TTP, but something to think of. But that's the padded strap wrap. You know, apologize for the little glitch. Hopefully we'll have a cool kind of like, you know, something got screwed up card here. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But anyway, padded strap wrap, down and dirty. Hope you found it informative, a little bit entertaining. As always, you know, just reach out anytime. Email, phone call, whatever, econs, you know, that little saying I have. But just reach out anytime. I mean it seriously. I'll do the best I can to help you out. All right, everybody, be good.